Welcome to Teachers College, Columbia University, and welcome to our Juneteenth celebration. I'm Janice Robinson, Vice President for Diversity and Community Affairs and Associate Professor of Higher Education. We are gathered here today to remember and celebrate June 19th, 1865. Juneteenth, as we have long called it and long celebrated it. The Day of Freedom, when Texas belatedly told their enslaved people that slavery had ended 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, and 2 months after Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant. In 1980, Texas became the first state to declare Juneteenth an official state holiday. 47 states and D.C. have commemorated the day either as a state holiday or as an observance. In 2020, Teachers College pronounced June 19th an official college holiday. Our celebration today includes a musical performance by Daryl Jordan, a TC doctoral student in the Music and Music Education program, opening with Lift Every Voice and Sing. A keynote address by Dr. Gordon-Reed, the Carl M. Loeb University Professor at Harvard, and a nationally renowned historian. Her latest book, On Juneteenth, was published May 4th, 2021. After our keynote, we will have community members speaking briefly about Juneteenth and what it means to them. And lastly, our beloved TC Choir, directed by Nicole Becker, will thrill us with a rendition of Still I Rise. Before I introduce our keynote, let's take a moment to enjoy Lift Every Voice and Sing by Daryl Jordan.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as a rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chance we run, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat and not a weary feet, come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. Oh, we have come treading the path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past God of silences, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy mind led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places our God where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
I am now pleased to introduce Dr. Annette Gordon-Reed. We are deeply honored to have her today, and I thank her for her generosity of time and spirit. When I reached out directly to her, she replied yes the same day. She's extraordinary. I will now read her bio. Dr. Annette Gordon-Reed is the Carl M. Loeb University Professor at Harvard. She has won 16 book prizes, including the Pulitzer Prize in History in 2009 and the National Book Award in 2008 for The Hemings of Monticello, An American Family. In addition to articles and reviews, her other works include Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, An American Controversy, Vernon Can Read, a memoir, a collaboration with Vernon Jordan, Race on Trial, Law and Justice in American History, a volume of essays that she edited, Andrew Johnson, and with Peter Onuf, Most Blessed of the Patriarchs, Thomas Jefferson and the Empire of Imagination. Her most recent book is On Juneteenth. Dr. Gordon-Reed was the Vivian Harmsworth Visiting Professor of American History at the University of Oxford, Queen's College, 2014-2015. Between 2010 and 2015, she was the Carol K. Forsheimer Professor at the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard University. She was the 2018-2019 president of the Society for Historians of the Early American Republic. She is the current president of the Ames Foundation. A selected list of her honors includes a fellowship from the Dorothy and Lewis B. Cullman Center for Scholars and Writers at the New York Public Library, a Guggenheim Fellowship in Humanities, a MacArthur Fellowship, the National Humanities Medal, the National Book Award, the Frederick Douglass Book Prize, the George Washington Book Prize, and the Asfeld Wolf Book Prize. Dr. Gordon-Reed served as a member of the Board of Trustees of Dartmouth College from 2010 to 2018. She was elected a Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences in 2011 and was a member of the Academy's Commission on the Humanities and Social Sciences. Lastly, in 2019, she was elected as a member of the American Philosophical Society. I now give you Dr. Annette Gordon-Reed. Thank you.
Hello. When I was a kid growing up in East Texas, it never occurred to me that a day that we celebrated every year with my family and members of my community would one day become a holiday celebrated by millions of Americans across the country. Juneteenth. Juneteenth was the day that we commemorated, celebrated, remembered the day on June 19th, 1865, when Gordon Granger came to Galveston. General Gordon Granger of the United States Army came to Galveston and told people that slavery was over in Texas. Now, of course, this was after the surrender of Lee at Appomattox in April of that year. It was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had been put forth by President Lincoln, and it was after Lincoln's death. But the Army of the Trans-Mississippi had kept fighting after these events and did not surrender until the beginning of June. And that's when Granger was able to leave his post in Louisiana and come to Galveston and make the announcement. As it turned out, people in the area already knew what he was going to say. The grapevine among enslaved people and others worked pretty well in those days, and there was great anticipation of the event. Granger comes to Galveston, and one of the first things he does is mention and issue General Order Number 3, which proclaims the end of slavery and talks about the absolute equality that now existed between the enslaved, the former enslaved, and their former enslavers. Something that he didn't have to say, and something that probably set off a number of whites in the area who had been used to thinking of African American people as property, even if they did not own African Americans themselves, lived in a society which was a racial hierarchy, and told people where blacks were supposed to be in that hierarchy and where whites were supposed to be relative to them. So it was a momentous occasion. There was much celebration, much jubilation. In fact, it was called a jubilee, as it was in other places. It was called also Emancipation Day for many years after that day when people commemorated this event. And it was a time of celebration. It was also a time of great hostility, unfortunately, on the part of a number of people, of whites who resented the fact that slavery was over and resented the fact that Black people were celebrating this. So there was violence unleashed against the freedmen after this time period. There were stories about people who, after celebrating, were whipped by people who had been their former enslavers, and it was sending a signal that they were not to be so happy about what had happened. But I think one of the things that I've always taken with me over the years celebrating this holiday or thinking about this holiday was what people must have felt like, knowing that the road would be hard, that this wasn't the end of all of the struggles of African American people, but that it was the beginning of something, and how hopeful they were. Now, a year or so ago, I decided to write an essay about Juneteenth, and it was an essay that appeared in the New Yorker, where I talked about the way we celebrated the holiday. It was a day where we barbecued, and what was on the menu was traditional Southern cuisine, what people would think of as soul food, but also goat. Our family didn't eat goat, but I don't know, and I'm not quite sure why that became associated with the holiday, but also drinking red soda water. Red soda water meaning red pop, strawberry pop, and also having in some places apparently strawberry pie. I don't think that was a part, I don't remember that being a part of my family celebration, but this notion of red, I am told, now was thought of as commemorating the blood that had been shared in slavery. I don't know if that's true or not, but we know that holidays get traditions and things associated with it, but red was always a part of the holiday. Now, we celebrated at home, and there were instances, also places where people celebrated in parks, public parks. In 1876, a group of Black men pooled their resources and bought land in Houston, called it Emancipation Park, and Juneteenth celebrations were held there every year. If you think about what that must have been like in the 1870s, when this violence and this hostility that I talked about before was still very much present. And indeed, they were on their way to the end of Reconstruction, the period where Blacks were supposed to be brought into citizenship by the Civil War amendments and by the actions of presidential Reconstruction and congressional Reconstruction. But as we know, that ended, and so-called Redeemer governments came into the states in the South, and Black men who had been part of legislatures, one governor in Louisiana all of that ended pretty much because of the redeemed southern states, namely when whites got control of the apparatus of government in these states and pushed blacks out, pushed black voting out, and made things very difficult, life very, very difficult for the formerly enslaved people who had been very hopeful around the time of Juneteenth, the original Juneteenth, thinking that things were going to move forward. All of that ended. And we entered a period after Plessy v. Ferguson of separate but equal, of Jim Crow, that lasted until the mid-60s, until the beginning of what has been called the Second American Revolution with the Civil Rights Movement in the United States of America. So this holiday, which commemorates this particular day, was not meant to suggest that everything was going to be okay, that it was just the beginning of a struggle. And I wrote about this in this essay. It turns out that I had also done a review of 5 books about Texas history the year before for the New York Review of Books. And that got me thinking about Texas as well. So the combination of these two articles, these two things that I wrote, made me think about Texas history and linked me back to something that my editor, Bob Weil at Live Right, had been saying to me over a number of years, that I should do a book about Texas. But we had in mind a big book about Texas, that I would talk about the sweep of Texas history, and it would be a big book, the kind of thing I typically do. The Hemingses and Monticello was 800 pages. But we thought that for now, it would be a good thing if I did something smaller, something more manageable, something that could be done in a way that was accessible to lots of different people and would not be very, very long. So I sat down in the midst of the pandemic that we've been living in here in Manhattan, particularly in Manhattan. We were at ground zero for COVID-19, seeing makeshift hospital tents in Central Park near where I live. I take a walk in the park every day and see all of this sort of intimations of mortality came to mind, and thinking about what my parents who are no longer living would have made of this particular time. What would they think about this particular time? And it made for, I think, a very personal book. It had me thinking about my family in a way that I may not have thought of them if I were not in the shadow of this particular problem that we were in, the pandemic that we were in. So I sat down to write these series of essays, which are designed to talk about Texas history through the story of my family. So it's personal. I wanted this to be personal, but I didn't want it to be so personal. I wanted it to really be about Texas. And I tell the story of this place that started out as a frontier, a place where enslavers and enslaved people came from the 1820s on up until the moment slavery ends, June 19th, 1865. It is a slave society, and it was intended to be that. That was the expectation for it. It was one of the reasons that Texas as a province, as an area, the annexation of Texas by the United States was so controversial, because we were headlong in the midst of a sectional crisis about the institution of slavery. And many northern states looked askance at the idea that there would be a new slave-owning state in their union and were opposed to it. Other people saw this as part of a version of the manifest destiny of the South, that is to carry plantation slavery west, maybe eventually back off into Mexico, to Cuba, other places in South America, a sort of a slaveholding empire. It was an expansionist empire. So thinking about all of these things together and thinking about my family, I set out to tell this story. It's a story of Juneteenth, is a story of not just about the day. I call it On Juneteenth, to talk about specifically what happened on Juneteenth, but to say that Juneteenth was a long time coming. What happened that led up to that point, that there had to be an emancipation, and that is talking about Texas as a slaveholding place. Most people think of Texas as cowboys and Indians and gunslingers, the very Hollywood notion of what Texas is about. There's definitely a part of it. It is a part of the West, and I can't deny that. But the eastern part of Texas, where I grew up, was a plantation society. And it was a society where race was incredibly important. Obviously, slavery was incredibly important, and the legacy of that stayed with us. So I talk about, it's necessary to think about the points leading up to June 19th and what happened after June 19th. And indeed, I talk about my childhood, where I integrated a school, our school district, and some of the fallout from that, and also the atmosphere in which that took place in a town that was very, very much influenced by the racial hierarchy, what had happened in slavery, and what continued to be a problem even after the institution was done, that it was over. So the story of Texas is complicated. It's a complicated cast of people, Anglo-Americans, Latino Americans, Indigenous Americans, Indians, African American people, all in this one place. One of the things that I say, and one of the reasons that I think that Juneteenth it's appropriate for Juneteenth to be a focus for people around the country, is that all the major currents of American history flow through Texas. Plantation society, slavery, westward expansion, the conflict between Anglos and indigenous people, the relationship between Latino culture and Anglo culture, Jim Crow. All of these things are there. Texas is on a border with another state and sort of the conflicts that have existed there, all in this one space that people typically think of, as I say in the book, Texas is constructed as a white man, but it's not. It is not white. It's not male. It is women and men of all different races and all different creeds. And it has been this multicultural society from the very, very beginning. So if you think about Texas solely in terms of cowboys and oilmen, you're missing a whole part of the story. And you're missing why Juneteenth as a holiday, as I said, is particularly appropriate, because Texas is in some ways sort of a small version of the United States. All the things that we've been struggling with are in this particular place. So the celebration of this day, which I thought was all about us, and I have to say I had this possessiveness about this holiday, is something that's much bigger than that. It is an American story. And that's why I think it's appropriate for people in New York, people in New Hampshire, people everywhere to recognize this day. That's not just about Black Texans. It's not just about Texans per se. It's about the United States of America. It is an American holiday. And I am grateful to be able to celebrate this with you, to commemorate this particular day. And as I said, it was something that I would never have dreamed when I was a little girl. But I'm glad we're at this point, because I hope that it's not just about looking backwards, but this is something to remind us about the work that we have to do, certainly with things that are going on in Texas right now, that we are at a pivotal moment. And this is important for us to think about and to keep alive those hopes that people had back in 1865 when they thought that a new day was dawning and a better world was coming for everybody. So thank you very much. Have a happy Juneteenth. Drink some red soda water. And remember, thank you.
To me, Juneteenth is about reflection, about celebration, and about hope. So I say reflection as I think about my own ancestors, and not too distant ancestors, and how they must have felt learning that they were freed in that moment of liberation. Think about celebration. For the last 30 years, I've celebrated Juneteenth mostly with community celebrations, with lots of dancing and singing and so much food. And so really just a celebration of our culture and the community. Then I think about hope. I think Juneteenth means to me that maybe I can hope that one day when my 22-year-old son leaves the house, that I don't have to worry about him being stopped by the police, that maybe I can stop worrying about the brutality against the trans community. religious persecution, of the hate crimes that our Asian American students are worried about how they'll get to campus because of the physical assaults that have been happening in New York City. So I guess when I think about Juneteenth, I think about hope, that we can get to a better world with more love, caring, compassion, and liberation.
I've only learned about Juneteenth Day a few years ago. That's why I think it's so important for us to acknowledge and to celebrate Juneteenth so that more people will learn and become more educated about Black American history, and for us to have a fuller understanding of the African American experience. Happy Juneteenth, and let us commit to equality for all.
Recognizing and celebrating Juneteenth is essential because in too many instances in American history, the nuanced Black experience is marginalized and or oversimplified. Indeed, these rich contributions are frequently excluded altogether. This troubling approach to our history repeatedly centers and normalizes a white perspective, thereby leaving in place remnants of inferiority thinking that is heaped upon everyday Black folks, even as it elevates a very small number of Black hero contributors.
I think it's especially important for white people to use Juneteenth as a day of education and reflection, to further educate ourselves on how this country was built on systemic racism, and to reflect on how that still perpetuates in the spaces that we occupy today.
Recognizing the impact and observing this date as a college holiday, to me, signifies our commitment to the many things we stand for, including social justice and equal rights for all. My fellow TC community members, on June 19th, let's reflect and celebrate freedom. We honor those who have gone before us. And above all, it is my hope that the work started continues well beyond our time. This holiday should be focused on celebrating freedom, yes, but also bring about healing, unity, equality, and respect for fellow man. As I close, what comes to mind is the words of the late Bob Marley, which I quote, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind," end quote. Let's use this stage, June 19th, as a time for reflection and the freeing of our minds. Thank you.
In closing, I want to express my deep appreciation to Dr. Annette Gordon-Reed for her wonderful historical and personal presentation, and to thank her for spending time with us. I also want to thank Daryl Jordan, Dr. Nicole Becker and the TC Choir, and our community participants, Denise Bonetta, Trevor Isaac, Lucy Tam, and Professor Mark Gooden. It takes a village, and I would be remiss if I did not thank our TC Office of Diversity and Community Affairs team, Juan Carlos Reyes, Kathy Santana, and Melissa Rooker. Also, our Office of Access and Services for Individuals with Disability, as well as our editor, Eric Raphael, and Wachu Yen, our social media expert, and Matt Vincent, our Director of Digital Communications. And I want to thank you for spending the time with us to listen and to learn. And one more thing, we are giving away 50 books in a raffle. The On Juneteenth book by our keynote, Dr. Annette Gordon-Reed. So if you haven't already entered your name, please do so by emailing odca@tc.columbia.edu. One more time, odca@tc.columbia.edu. Thank you.